In 2016, a young lady had the opportunity to get a new job. It was in a new city, a different place, everything she ever wanted, right? But she chose to just stay in her previous job. Why? Because that previous job had the same routines and the same methods of operation that she was already used to. She did not want change. Now, while this may seem a little bit crazy, it's similar to what many of us experience in our lives. We want better, but we also don't want change. And it's understandable. It's in our biology. The human brain was designed to prevent change because change is dangerous, basically. It's not really the change itself. It's the unknown that is around that change, the uncertainty. That's what our brain is avoiding. Because in the past, if you had gone into the jungle to a place that you had not already mapped out before, you could fall off a cliff or something. It's not so anymore yet. The brains that were so good at keeping us safe are now keeping us safe even from things that are good. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. While change is something that guarantees a good life, it isn't something that is always exciting. It doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like sleepless nights. It feels like a tight chest. It feels like procrastination. Sometimes it even feels like a constant feeling of tiredness. And that's because, like I said earlier, you're trying to avoid that uncertainty. If you've ever delayed a decision in your life, this video is for you. Number one, the brain loves comfort. As I've already established before, your brain's number one job is to keep you safe. Anything that threatens your safety, your brain does not want it. And as society has developed today, there is nothing safer than your bed. It's safer to just stay on your bed all day, every day, doing nothing. You don't get hurt that way. However, you also do not grow that way. If you want to grow, you have to override your natural desire, your natural instinct to stay in one spot. Because the way society is now, you can get food, entertainment, and even a perverted form of sex from your living room. And you need to understand that it's not that you are lazy, it's your biology. However, you don't have to be subject to that. You can act against it. You can act for a better cause. Once you understand that growth begins where your comfort zone ends. In as much as you need to have some level of certainty in your life, it is the uncertainty in your life that results in the growth that you see eventually. Number two, change threatens your identity. Whether you know it or not, you've built an identity around the habits that you currently have. How do you know that you've built this identity? Whenever anything new comes along, you find yourself saying statements like, I am not good at this, or I wasn't built for that, I am bad at this or that, or I am not cut out of this kind of material. For example, people often say that they are bad at handling money, or they are just not the kind of person who budgets. These are limiting beliefs that are built around habits that you've cultivated for a really long time. So how do you improve yourself? The secret is simple. Change your habits. You have to understand that whenever change comes, it is something that allows you to evolve. You need to understand that evolution is not the destruction of the previous you. Rather, it's an addition to what you've previously been. Once you can accept that, you become more comfortable to receiving those feedbacks as they come. Because criticism is one of the key ways that pointers for change and areas that need change come to your life. So accept that evolution is part of your living, part of your life, and it gets better from there. Number three, people fear failure. Many people don't want to change because it's possible that, like I said, uncertainty is involved. The same thing that could lead to success could also lead to failure. And most of the time, the voices that say failure will happen are often louder than what the voices of success say in our heads. So we must understand that in as much as we fear failure, we must also allow ourselves to believe in the possibility of success. And how do we achieve this? We do not achieve it by simply encouraging ourselves with words, and that is important, but we need to get the facts about what we are going to be investing our time in, because confidence often comes around preparation, and that preparation is the work that many people are not willing to do. Most of the time, as I said earlier in point number one, people procrastinate whenever they feel change coming. The things that they're often procrastinating are the things they need to do in order to ensure the success of what they are embarking on. However, with continued procrastination comes the formation of a new habit, which is not doing those things that enable them succeed. And the more they do that, the more they believe that that thing that they are going to be doing is going to end up in failure. And it's not always so. For example, a student has an exam to study for. They know that they could either fail that exam or succeed at that exam. They could even be the best student in that exam. But because they've not been doing the studying previously, in other words, an identity has been formed from that habit, they don't study. One thing we see that a student preparing for an exam will keep on procrastinating studying because he has not been studying for a long time. In as much as that short period between revision week and exam week could still amount to a lot of change and enable him to succeed, he would rather just keep on doing what he's been doing. He knows that if he studies, he will do better. However, he's not assured of that success. And due to that lack of assurance, he just does nothing. Because like I said earlier, the voices that speak for failure in the heads of most people are often louder than the voices that speak for success. So what can you do exactly? I've given the answer in everything I've said, but I'm going to state it concisely. You need to be willing to build as you go. Even if you do not have all the facts or the stats that are required to assure you, you must understand that if you build as you go, you are going to end up much more than you were when you started. Because even if you fail eventually, you'll still have a structure that didn't exist at the beginning. So you don't end up with zero. In other words, you end up with lessons. And even if lessons were not what you were seeking when you started out on that journey, it's better than where you would have been if you had done nothing. Number 4, you might be emotionally attached to the past. Sometimes out of loyalty, we hold on to structures that have served their purpose in our lives. We don't want to move on to the next phase because there's a friend at work who was really instrumental to our growth while we were in that previous phase. We don't want to get even a new laptop because a previous laptop has served us a lot and we've been using it for a long time. It has even become a trusted companion. While you know that getting a new one would serve you better, you've become so attached to what is old. And this is the same way many people get attached to their past. Things in the past that no longer serve them in any way, but they've become comfortable with, they do not want to live. This emotional attachment to the past can be a limiting factor, especially when the environment is screaming change, because letting go can feel like betrayal. It can feel like you are a sellout, especially to those you care about, even if those you care about might not be growing at the same rate as you are. You must understand that it is your honor for them that lets you pick the right decision, which is to grow, because you do not want all of the labor that they've placed on you getting you to where you currently are to only end there. I remember there's this saying that goes, we did not come this far only to come this far. There's always something higher. And when you choose to step up, it's actually the honorable thing you can do, considering all the investments that other people and other systems and other structures have put into you so far. And number 5, there is no clear vision of where you want to go. There's often a lot of fear involved when there is no direction. Picture this, you are a sailor with a boat and you're about to move into the ocean. However, you know that there are going to be turbulence, storms, there will be large waves and everything is quite unstable when you're at sea, but you have no direction. You don't even know where your journey is going to end. There is no benefit to going on that journey. When you consider all of those negative factors, they become really loud. Why? Because there is no definite end. There is no purpose to what you are doing. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that if you want to reduce the amount of fear you have concerning any issue in your life, it means you need to have a stronger vision, a stronger level of conviction concerning that matter. For example, if you want to work towards a distinction and you're afraid of putting a lot of time into that, as opposed to other areas of your life where you could be putting time, you then need to get a lot of reason around that vision. How would getting a distinction help? How would it move you closer to your goal? These are things you have to answer. And the more you answer those questions as it concerns the attainment of that well-defined purpose, the more your fears disappear. In conclusion, change is not your enemy and neither is fear. They are just pointers to the fact that you are standing on the edge of transformation. And once you can see them for what they truly are, you learn to walk into even what you fear. You walk into the fire and you allow that transformation to happen to yourself. If what I've said resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe and turn on the notifications. Also share this video with a person who is currently at a phase in their life where they also are experiencing some level of upgrade. Thank you for watching and God bless you.